Now, from the Columbia Basin, your local news source, this is iFIBER 1 News, presented in high definition. The #1 source for real-time local news, local sports headlines, and our very own Weather Center forecast covering the entire Columbia Basin. With your iFIBER 1 News team, reporting news in real time as it's happening. From the iFIBER Communications HD broadcast studio in Ephrata, Washington, this is iFIBER 1 News, and it starts now.
Welcome to iFIBER 1 News. I'm Sarah Brewer reporting news from around the Columbia Basin for Monday, September 16th. Tonight we report on the severe thunderstorm that passed through Grant County Sunday night and how people came out to enjoy Quincy Farmer Consumer Awareness Days. In sports, Bob Kirkpatrick gives us the latest on Friday night football and Ephrata volleyball. A spotlight story tonight is about the continuing success of the Quincy Cold Train. And we have the latest weather forecast for the Columbia Basin from the iFIBER 1 Weather Center. Our top story tonight, Moses Lake schools were closed and numerous communities were still waiting for power this morning after a severe thunderstorm swept through Grant County Sunday night. There were no reported injuries or deaths related to the storm. About 43% of Grant County PUD customers lost power, which is 17,000 customers. Most saw power restored late Sunday night, but a number of communities were still waiting Monday morning. 19 power poles need to be replaced in an area near Moses Lake, south of Interstate 90. Some poles were snapped and others had lines tangled with the high winds from the storm. Power restoration in the Ephrata and Soap Lake areas was delayed because 6 power poles needed to be replaced. A substation near Wilson Creek was damaged during the storm and needed repairs. The impact of the storm led Moses Lake School District to close schools for Monday, but plans to have them ready Tuesday. The Moses Lake Christian School was also closed due to the storm. High winds and heavy rainfall from the storm caused power outages in Moses Lake, Ephrata, Warden, Soap Lake, Royal City, Wilson Creek, and May Valley. Some roads were closed Sunday night as crews were clearing away trees and storm debris. PUD crews, firefighters, and police were busy trying to help with the blocked roads and down power lines throughout Sunday night and into this morning. There were reports of trees being blown over throughout Grant County. To keep track of local weather and see a forecast focused on the Columbia Basin, stay tuned. We'll have the latest from the iFIBER 1 Weather Center. Quincy Farmer Consumer Awareness Days returned over the weekend and featured a lot of events for the community to do. Here with the story is Vivian Huang.
Crowds lined the streets of Quincy Saturday for the town's Farmer Consumer Awareness Day. Tia Major, director of the Quincy Valley Chamber of Commerce, says the event has grown since its inception 30 years ago.
Farmer Consumer Awareness is a program or an event that was started up over 30 years ago, and it basically, in the beginning, was to educate people on where their food comes from. Most people think they just walk into a grocery store and it appears, and people in Quincy Valley realized that they were producing a lot of this food, whether it be potatoes, onions, corn, etc. And they realized that a lot of people didn't really know how it got from field to the table. So that's how it pretty much originated, and it's just kind of grown from there. We have all of our service groups, Rotary, and the different Lions, the different groups that come in and do what they do with their booths with food, and so it's kind of a big deal.
The Farm to Market 2K 5K run kicked off the day's events. Participants gathered at the front of Mountain View Elementary School in anticipation of running to start off the day.
Well, the fun run has been going on for quite a few years. I think probably up to maybe 20 years, and so it's the kind of the kickoff for the day, for the Farmer Consumer Awareness Day, and it involves people from the community, from outlying areas, and it ends up being a fundraiser for several groups within the school.
This This is our big event in Quincy. I grew up here, and I live in Moses now, but I come back every year for. This is one of the one of the things. Get to see a lot of my buddies from the old days, and just celebrate Quincy. So it's a good time.
The fun run was followed by a grand parade downtown Quincy, where floats graced the streets and dancing horses bookended the parade. A myriad of food vendors, exhibits, car shows, and other activities were also underway at Quincy High School, where most of the day's events took place. For iFIBER 1 News, this is Vivian Huang.
Looks like a lot of fun, but there was even more to the event than that. Parties on the Green hosted an annual hot air balloon festival on Saturday. Vivian was there too.
Hot air balloons dotted the sky Saturday morning for Quincy's annual Hot Air Balloon Festival sunrise launches. Kent and Kim Bacon, owners of the Parties on the Green venue, started the Balloon Festival 6 years ago in tandem with Quincy's Farmer Consumer Awareness Day. Working closely with the Northwest Pyrotechnics Association, their epic fireworks display caps off the day's festivities. Spectators observed as 7 balloons launched one by one at the crack of dawn, floating southeast from the site.
It was very quiet, and you just felt yourself floating, and it was so subtle that you just hardly realized that you were lifting up off the ground. And then once up there, you just saw like a patchwork of everything. You got to see all the farms, and then at one point he came down and did a practice landing, and it was a little rough. Glasses almost fell off my face. But then we went right back up again, and then the next landing was much softer. And he brought us down to where we like barely going across the tops of the cornfields, and then we would go back up again, and it was absolutely beautiful.
The Parties on the Green Balloon Festival falls on the second weekend of September every year to promote tourism in Quincy. For iFIBER 1 News, this is Vivian Huang.
Each of the people you see here has warrants for their arrest and is wanted by various law enforcement agencies. If you see any of these people, the DOC asks that you do not attempt to detain or apprehend them, but to call police. You can also call the Department of Corrections at 509-764-6180 during the day or 509-762-1160 after 5 p.m. We'll be back after these messages with the latest from our iFIBER 1 Weather Center, and we have sports and more news still to come.